This is the path I've chosen, wherever it may lead. I found the other ways, they somehow all end up the same. I lay my burden gently at thy feet, and I take refuge in the sanctuary of thy name. I search for truth in each and every word that I heard spoken. I found the books of which we all have often heard. They left my spirit broken and took me on a journey far away from home. Far away from everything I'd loved and known. We're all alone. We're riding high. We're falling back. We touch the sky. It is the ways of the world, the shadows of the soul, all to decide what's right or wrong. The weeping you have heard, a longing to be whole. It is not a cry, it is a song, a song. This is the life I'm living, for better or for worse. This is a part I've been given in this grand and holy game. This is my chance of drinking at the source, as I take refuge in the sanctuary of thy name. I fail to see what everybody seems to love and celebrate, as if a party once was held and I, a fool, had come too late. It is the ways of the world, the shadows of the soul, all to decide what's right or wrong. The weeping you have heard, a longing to be whole. It is not a cry, it is a song, a song for healing our pain, a song for taking on time, a song with a common refrain that the one who's come to lead us all to higher ground has come, has finally come along. This is the path I've taken, wherever it may lead. I found the other ways, they somehow all end up the same. I lay my burden gently at thy feet, and I take refuge in the sanctuary of thy name.
Chandrachudamadanantaka-shulapane Sthano Girisha Girijesha Mahesha Shambho Bhutesha Bhita Bhayasudana Mamanatyam Samsāra dukkha gahana jagadisha raksha Samsāra dukkha gahana jagadisha raksha. O Lord of the universe, who has the crescent moon on thy forehead, thy slayer of karma, wielder of the trident, the immovable one, who resided in mountains, the Lord of Girija, the Divine Mother, the God of gods, the auspicious one, the Lord of all creatures, the destroyer of the fear in the timid. Protect me, who am lost in the wilderness of the miseries of this samsara. I'd like to start by thanking Dana for setting the stage with this wonderful song. I remember distinctly, of course, about 2.5 years ago, when I first spoke here, I remember Dana's wonderful song, opening song. Eddie. Teddy. Denny. Yeah, you know that we have that Dana and Denny together. Today is also Father's Day. Yesterday was Juneteenth. And tomorrow is International Yoga Day. So we all sandwiched between all nice things. Welcome back once again to this Hollywood temple. Most of you I know were dying to return to this place. Yeah. And we were dying to see you all. We hope we can beat this pandemic and return to things as they were in pre-pandemic days. Today's topic, as we all are aware, is the nature of samsara. You search the internet and you'll have plenty of the nature of samsara. I found out just a couple of days ago, and it was too late to change the topic of my talk. But I'll give you a different take on the nature of samsara, which I don't think there are, the popular talks have dwelt on this. We are today the result of a long, long line of our ancestors in our species who have survived. We have survived. We are called survivors. And this is life. It entails a lot of struggles, a lot of sufferings, and our species has been there for more than 150,000 years ago. Imagine. And each succeeding generation has struggled to survive. And we are today here, surviving. We can beat this pandemic, don't worry. The earth has gone through 4 major mass extinctions, and we are in the middle of the 5th. We don't see this mass extinction. All species apart from us, and there are billions and billions, who knows, trillions, they are still discovering newer and newer species. We have all co-evolved. It was a symbiotic relationship. At times we had to compete, but we have always cooperated. We have learned to keep everything in its proper space, to give space. It's only in this generation that things are like mad. We are careening out of control. We became insane with our own selfishness. And that might be the cause of our disappearance. The world will go on. You don't have to worry about it. Evolution will create newer bodies. We don't need this kind of, you can say, this world is meant for us. Oh, sorry. That was the old way of thinking. So in this present scenario, this huge species proliferating in the land, in the oceans, and the seas, and the air, everywhere, there's life. It's like that massive tree of life, branching and sub-branching over and over and over. Like the Bhagavad Gita says, narupamasya tato upalabhyate. This form cannot be comprehended. There's no beginning, there's no end. So we are going to talk about this tree of samsara, where we are embedded firmly. And our life depends on the whole. Many people find it difficult to understand the basic concepts of Advaita Vedanta, Vedanta in general. You know, when they talk, they're talking just contradictory things. We just can't bring our heads around these concepts. But it's a simple concept. It's like, for instance, anoraniyan mahato mahiyan. Well, smaller than the smallest atom and greater than the greatest. What's this? How can something be small as well as big? Well, Vedanta is speaking of oneness. And the whole spectrum of existence is embedded in this oneness. Asino duram vrajati. Well, sitting down, it moves far. Sleeping, it moves all over the place. What's this? It's speaking of oneness. And this is, given the laws of mind and matter, logical to have both the individual and the universal as part of the whole. Samsara also is such a concept. It is here, it is there, it is everywhere. It is one, and it is many. So, well, you can telescope it and expand it, and you get the same meaning. So, talk about philosophy and poetry should join their forces and become one. Physics and metaphysics are two disparate things, need to come closer. Science and religion are two separate. Who said so? Not Vedanta. Sorry. When you're speaking of oneness, it has to be one. You look at this, it's science, and the same thing is religion. And this is what Vedanta says. People are afraid of going to hell. Well, hell has to be here. And so, heaven also. It is here. It's in our bodies, it's in our minds, it's in our vital forces, it's in our thoughts, it's everywhere. So this is devotees, children of God, all is called samsara. Briefly. So the popular definition of samsara is, oh God, yeah, samsaram eva ati vichitram. Samsara is difficult to comprehend. It's strange. And samsara is spoken of as the world. Yeah, when you're in the world, all these attachments and aversions, all these play. And then they talk about, marriage and children and job and education and family. The whole thing is, the guy is sunk in samsara. He's tied down in samsara. He's burnt in samsara. He's scorched in samsara. So we are scorched and burnt and then drowned after being bound in the net of samsara. This is samsara. That's the popular idea. So we know, like in India, we're saying, you talk about anything, oh, this is samsara. Kind of worldliness, the gross mind. This is samsara. Well, the technical meaning of this is samsrij, sum together, and srij is to flow, to wander, to spread. It also means phenomenal existence, relative existence, this. It also means, the cause of, you can say, the cause and effect of a fundamental entity, which we will present later. So, it is, like I said, the flow of the world, the objective universe, existence, existential reality, samsara. So everything, whatever exists within samsara. That's samsara. So karma is also an aspect of samsara. Now, why bring in this karma business? Last month I spoke about karma. And that was unsettling to many people. I won't go into that. But as you know, no thought exists in a vacuum. No person exists in a vacuum. One thought is the consequence of an earlier thought. Now, thoughts and feelings and memories, the ones that are happening right now in our brains and in our bodies, are a consequence. And this will result in the next, you can say, sequence. So we are bound in a long sequence. And it's the nature of karma. You start something. That's why the karma says, you better be careful what you start. Very careful, you are going to get trapped there. So you start and then you can't stop. The momentum takes you forward in spite of your best intentions and efforts. You're dragged in. That's the wheel of karma. That is one, you can say, meaning of samsara. Why bring in karma? Yeah, because we see everything evolving. Everything has to adapt. People believe in, oh yeah, okay, this evolution, it's a fact. Evolution itself is an aspect of karma. We have to adapt. Of course, there are some who say, oh no, the genes and the mutations are random and that gives us the rise of species. Yeah, but the environment also plays an important part in our evolution and our development, in adaptation. Taken together, both these are, again, samsara. Okay. Like samsara, we don't know when. It's a very ancient word, very ancient, found in the Vedas. And as time passed by, words carry along with it a host of meanings. And over the millennia, a lot of meanings have been ascribed to this word samsara. It itself has become like a huge tree, the tree of samsara, with its various meanings. Vedanta itself is like, it's saying, don't reject any kind of meaning. Take it because they are explaining one shade of the real thing. So we don't reject, we accept. You come, what's here? Come in. So we find a place. Everyone finds a place there. So we have, they're saying, the secret. Who knows the secret of samsara? Generally, we have a very simplistic view of life. Yeah, something happens, and okay, I did this, and this is the result. We have seen, and the older we go, we can see what our mistakes were that has led us right now here to us. But that's a very simplistic kind of explanation. There are so many memories, there are so many systems at work, so many forces, so many people, all in these dynamic interactions. You can't lay the finger and say, this is the cause of this only. So each cause is multiplied, and its effects are also multiplied. So there are so many external stressors. It's unbelievable. If you keep on thinking like the sages did, our brains will become numb. Of course, we are too dumb for that kind of analysis. But it's very difficult to point your finger and say, this is the final cause of the samsara. No, it's not there. Why? Why is that? Because Vedanta says we are not living a simple life. We are living a double life. Not only a double life, a treble life. Not treble, quadruple. We know what we are. We know how we display ourselves out. It's all double life. So double thoughts, double speak. So this is the nature of reality that we experience through the body, through the mind. This is samsara. So when we talk about what is this experience, who is the experiencer? There is samsara, and the one who experiences samsara is called a samsarin, one who has a samsara. It's not, it's kind of something like neutral and kind of separate from you. It's an experience. So samsara is experienced by the samsarin, What is a samsarin? The default mode of the mind is one, to think of oneself and one's interest, to think or dwell on the past, and to imagine the future. This is the definition of an experiencer, one who experiences, and then there's an act of experience. So we have the agent, we have the, you can say, the experience and the mode of experience. So this is samsarin, one who experiences samsara. As long as this crystallization does not break, we are samsarins. We are in those chains. So we have, Swami Vivekananda says, there's a doctrine of Maya. It takes months to explain and years to understand. Oh yes, it's very subtle. What exactly is this? Maya. It's one of the main pillars on which the entire doctrine of Vedanta rests. It's anirvachaniya, that is indescribable. But Maya is experienced, and the experience is called samsara. I think this is more clear. So it's like, in the old Indian stories, we have one story. It leads to another story, another story. And it's like, a wheel within a wheel within a wheel within a wheel, a story within a story within a story. Yeah. It kind of, in some of these old stories in India, we find, my God, it leads you breathless and then brings you back from where you started. That's the gain of having to read all these stories. So our lives also are like that, Stories within stories, within stories, within stories. For more than 100,000 years, we have been great storytellers. Religion began with stories. Mythology began with stories. Rituals and everything began with stories. Our education began with stories. Where? Around the fires. Oh yeah. That fire was there to drive away all animals also and protect yourself from the cold also. Well, what happens if the animal comes from behind? Well, there's someone else to look after that, not you. You look after someone else's back. So around these fires we gathered and we told stories of food and heroes, of environments, of all the things that we have done and what we have heard. And the greatest storyteller was in great demand. These are the stories, these wonderful stories we laid down. And when we used to feed the fires, that became the rituals. We had the fire sacrifices. All these old religions were all fire worshippers, sun worshippers, fire worshippers. This was the beginning of the human story. Began with stories around the fireplaces. And when they looked at the skies and they saw all the stars and they thought, those guys also must be sitting around the fires. But they are high up, so let's call them gods. So like I said, religion began with stories. Today it's all stories. Your movies, your books, and everything is nothing but stories and stories and stories. It is more, you can say, attractive than philosophy, a dry philosophy. So we always love a good story. Yeah, so that is how we all started with these stories. So when we come down to our own story, it's like I said, everybody is writing their own, scripting their own story. Yes, through our thoughts, words, and deeds. As simple as that. Who's the author? The sense of I, the individuality, the aham. That is the author. So we are fed with stories, and sometimes we get fed up with stories. People are stories. We fall in love with them, hate them. Everything is a story. So our stories begin on a small scale. But each story to become relevant has to have a matrix of society. So society has to be embedded in a larger matrix called culture, civilization, and religion and culture and language, and all these form part of that whole, you can say, narrative. And then that culture or civilization is embedded into a larger human story. And that story is again embedded in a much larger story of all life. So we have a story within a story within a story, with a wheel within a wheel within a wheel. There we are. If our stories contain the extensive narrative, then our stories become powerful, it becomes strong, it becomes valid. If our stories only concern me and my, there, your story becomes irrelevant. We may wonder whether what we script is relevant or no. Yes, it is relevant if you can bring in all the elements of all the stories. So this whole story is taken together. Everyone is writing it down. Every thought, every word, every deed is a story. We are writing this grand narrative of this universe. And we are doing it not very alertly, not very consciously. We are just bumbling about. We need to become aware that my story is part of the larger story, the larger and larger and larger. So this is the wheel within the wheel within the wheel, the story within the story within the story. Your life depends on everything else. It's like even these ancients here, in fact, our Native Americans, the original Americans, they used to give thanks, like we do, you know, thanks before meals. But for them, all life was sacred. Even when they had to eat that life, they used to pray for that life. So life feeds on life, life sustains life. And in this huge, you can say, tree of samsara, each and every story is important. So every day we write our own stories. Our stories are made of various segments over and over again. Let us write a beautiful story. So we expect our story will be read by someone. Generally it's not read. We don't read it. You know? What we have scripted, we hardly are not bothered at all. And that's because we have not been able to do things properly. We feel we are separate from this whole, you can say, tree of life. We are important. We have put ourselves on the throne of this world and think of no end of our own stories. But like I said, if the story has elements of higher and higher dimensions, then it becomes relevant. We're just talking about tree, the huge tree of life. Yes, it's staggering. Sometimes you wonder It's taken billions and billions of years, and it's growing. But there is one element which, as I say, is missing in the whole story. Why should this tree of samsara, this tree of life, entail suffering? Why is this tree of samsara like it's bondage? Why is that we are in the net of samskara? Why is samsara? Why is that we are burnt? And why is that? Why? We know this, and yet we fall into this trap. Is this then existential reality? The existentialist, they say, there is no God, there is no destiny. You are born, okay, fine. And you say, what is the meaning of life? The universe outside is silent. You find now what is your meaning of life. You are given choices. You do the right choices, and if you take the right choices, you have some meaning of life. It's subjective. Others also have their own meanings of life. So in this whole network, this tree of samsara, like we saw the thumbnail, where it showed kind of a person's wrists are shackled, This is actually samsara. What is the missing element? In India we have this, there's a song, Shiva Moy Ye Samsara. This samsara is Shivamaya, that is full of Shiva. So why can't we catch that element? This is the missing element in our story. We've scripted the whole thing without the main character, without the main essence, without the basis of all existence, the basis of all stories. In the Kathopanishad and also in the Bhagavad Gita, we are given an illustration of a huge tree. The urdhvamulam adashakam esho ashvatta sanatana. That's a huge tree of samsara. It has its roots from that pure Brahman. And its branches, its twigs and leaves and fruits and flowers are nothing but wrought by our karma. The elements and hundreds of things. We are like small birds on this tree of life. So it says, kind of counterintuitively, well, we have seen this tree and these trees and this tree. We know the roots are always down below. But here it says the roots are above and the branches below. And they're spread out all around the world. Where do you see such trees? If you go to the river bank or the edge of a lake, you will see a tree reflected upside down, a reflection of the real tree. If you have noticed, of course, now that I'm trying to jog your memory, yeah, of course, we have seen these trees upside down. It's there. But that's a reflection of the real tree. Exactly. We are reading our whole story upside down. We are scripting our whole life upside down. And that has entailed all this suffering and struggles and pain and bondages. If we could only see this whole thing right side up, everything is okay. This is that great Urdhva Mula, that great Ashwatha tree, that ancient Indian fig tree. Technically it means Ashwatha, that which will not exist tomorrow. So it has to be cut down, the Bhagavad Gita says. But if you can read your stories right side up, you'll see the reality in a correct perspective. That is bringing the element of divinity within the story. So long we have neglected this side of the real story. And we are kind of, as I chanted in the hymn, we are lost in this trackless, you can say, forest of samsara, filled with miseries and pains. Now when we correct our perception, we find, oh, yeah, you shift the ego out and bring the Lord in. That's why the Lord said, Tesham eva anukamparta aham ajnanajam tama nashayam atmabhavastu jnanadipin. Out of compassion for them, I destroy their ignorance born of darkness, the darkness born of ignorance, while I reside in their hearts. I had said, Anoraniyan Mahato, the smaller than the smallest and greater than the greatest is, we are speaking of the Atman. And where is the Atman? Janto nihito gudayam. So it's in the hearts of all beings. Here is the roots of this massive tree of existence coming out. It is there, the microcosm and the macrocosm are built on the same plan. And this was one of Swami Vivekananda's great experiences. Microcosm and the macrocosm. It has to be. Otherwise the whole thing kind of just breaks. You're going to have a world that's divisive, where we are supposed to unify everything. And also the Lord says, Tesham maham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat. I lift them out of this sea of samsara. Bhavami nachita, quickly. So when we bring in the Lord will lift us out of this ocean of samsara. So we are tied a few concepts of Maya, karma, and samsara together, weaving it out with our lives. Called it samsara, and there is something called a samsarin. What about the Lord? The Lord is a samsarin, or a samsarin, one who is without samsara. Yes, but where is that Lord? That Lord dwells in every heart, in every being. This is what we have to identify ourselves with. The samsarin, or a samsarin, not with samsara. And then our stories will be scripted rightly. Then our stories will become the story of creation. Then every thought and word and deed and everything that we have ever done will become relevant not only to ourselves but to the world. This is called liberation, freedom from samsara. Yes. How does it feel? You write, as a free spirit. You live as a free spirit. And it's not a kind of a selfish freedom, Go out and help others correct their perceptions. Don't see the world upside down. See the world correctly. Here it is. And this is what I got to do. Flip it. That's the flipping of consciousness. You know, in one of our meditation, you can see videos, we had said, a person is now meditating and meditating and meditating very deeply and deeply, is going. The object of meditation, take for instance, like this is Ramakrishna, you're meditating. That's the object of meditation. I'm the subject, I'm meditating. And the subject and the object kind of coalesce. They come closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. And as it comes closer, there is a flipping of consciousness. The object becomes the subject. And the subject becomes the object. What? Yeah. Ramakrishna becomes the subject. He actually is, was, and will be the eternal subject. And you thought you were the subject. That's the flipping of consciousness. You suddenly flip. But I am the object now. You reflect that subject now. And you reflect it now, right side up, correctly. No longer will you say, I am the subject. Sorry. Sri Ramakrishna will say, no, I am the guy. I am the one who runs everything. Because he said, Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahmat. That is pure. That is Brahman. From where the roots of this tree of samsara issue out. Then we can, as I say, asanga shastrena dhrena chitta, can cut this whole upside down tree with the strong sword of detachment. There it is. Over. It's gone. That is liberation. That is freedom from samsara. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.
Thank you, Maharaj, for a beautiful talk, and welcome to all of our friends who were able to make it today. And as Maharaj said, let us hope this is the first step in a gradual reopening and strengthening of our community in person, with now the added extension of our community all over the world via YouTube. So next week, our speaker will be Swami Arupeshananda. He'll be driving all the way down from Pinion Hills where he stays, and his topic is the spiritual commute. So he's doing a spiritual commute to give the talk. Swami Satyamayananda will be speaking again here in Hollywood on July 4th. Our annual July 4th program will be conducted still only online in Trabuco. So you have the choice to come here or to stay home and join online in Trabuco. And our classes now are open to the public. We are still requesting people to come after getting vaccinated and to wear a mask, and you don't have to register. And perhaps we'll continue registration for Sunday for a few weeks just to see how many people actually are coming. But
classes are open.
Classes are open with no registration required. And evening arati, 6 p.m., also open, no registration required, wearing a mask. And I think that's about it. If we have questions, anybody have a question, we can give you a microphone, and because we can't go, we're not going into the living room for our usual questions and answers. So,
Ted has got a question.
No question. Online, there's a question. Let's have it. First question.
I thought you would have welcomed me with a question after a long time.
First question is from Sarthak. While meditating, many kinds of unnecessary things come in my mind. Advise me what I should do so that I can concentrate and meditate.
Well, you have kept those treasured things with you, and those thoughts are, in a way, parts of you. So you have accumulated a whole bunch of things, and they are not going to go away so easily unless you push them out. So what do? It's like when you're going to a particular place. So I'm going from here to downtown LA. I see many things on the way, but they don't distract me because I'm fixed about going to downtown. So similarly, when these thoughts emerge while meditating, keep your attention fixed on your chosen ideal and let these thoughts come and let them go. Don't hold on. Hold on to that thought of the mantra or of the image of the deity. So you see what happens is people, they like to be paid attention to. And most of our problem is nobody's paying attention to me. So don't be attentive to these kind of thoughts which come. So they will fade slowly.
The next question. I am ashamed to confess that my situation is like Duryodhana. Janami dharmam na cha me pravritti. I know what is dharma, but I have no inclination for it. I end up doing worldly and negative things and feel guilty. I try to come back from this cycle, and I am stuck with my habits. I have realized my devotion towards the Lord is fake, weak, and I feel like a pest. How to get out of my weakness and this cycle? Please pardon me for the long question.
Thank you for being very candid. There are others who are not candid. But if you can hold on to truth, like you just mentioned this, hold on to truth, don't let go. That itself is going to lead you to the highest truth. So the idea is you fall 1,000 times, you get up 1,000 times. And this is actually what a human being really is. So don't be depressed, don't be ashamed. And that's one thing Vedanta says, you don't be ashamed. Don't cringe at every thought that rises in your mind that you were not not content with or happy with. No. Think of the divinity within you and slowly to truth manifest it. It may take 1 year, it may take 10 years, it may take a lifetime, but start now. That is the way.
How to best help those stuck in samsara? Speak or be quiet?
By coming out of samsara yourself, you can help others come out of samsara. No need to speak, no need to dictate things, no need to pontificate, no need to preach. Just live that life. People will see you and your life as an example, and they will steer away from what they are doing, and they will learn to appreciate what you're doing. That is the way of samsara.
Shashvato asks, Brahman is described as existence, consciousness, bliss. But bliss, as we understand, is a feeling of peace in the mind, which is an object. Then how is Brahman bliss itself?
You, of course, have strayed away from the subject matter. However, the bliss of Brahman, it's like every pore of the body, if it is suffused with bliss 1,000,000-fold, that is the experience of bliss of Brahman while still living in the body. No body is capable of containing that bliss. The body will have to get transformed to yoga. Right now, your body is not transformed to the fire of yoga. It has to become purified. And then this subtle body, which is called the divine body of Bhagavati Tanu, it is through this subtle body purified by the fire of yoga that you can experience a tremendous bliss. A portion of it can simply explode you or implode you. A grain of that bliss, in the Upanishads, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and in the Taittiriya Upanishad also, one unit, a grain of bliss of Brahman is comparable to a young man who is a king, who is healthy, who is learned in the Vedas, who is righteous, and he is a king of this whole world. That is one unit of the bliss of Brahman in this world. Multiply this by 100, then you get the bliss of the, you can say, celestial, the semi-celestial beings. And then it keeps on multiplying by 100 and 100 and 100 of the gods of Prajapati. And so this bliss, you don't know what's bliss, objective, and peace. No. The nature of the Atman itself is called Shantam, peace. What you find peace is nothing but a mind sometimes, cloyed, or the mind stupefied, or the mind slightly calm, and you find peace, and that's it. So even joy is like that. Yeah, bliss. That bliss is incomparable. And like I said, on the grain of this bliss, the whole universe lives. So you can imagine what's the real bliss of Brahman. the real deal. That is, yeah. I hope I haven't dissuaded you, but then keep on trying it.
Asim asks, to be beyond samsara is to live a unique life and path?
Yes, a unique life interconnected with everyone. We are now living in a kind of a bubble. So our uniqueness will be when we are connected with the whole. That is the way out of samsara.
Pinaki asks, you explained the first shloka of chapter 15 of the Gita. Can you talk a little more on that shloka? Why are the roots on top?
Oh, I just spoke about it. I think you should just go through, just scroll back and rewind the talk and you'll get the idea.
Sharada asks, can I ask with all humbleness, how does Advaita Vedanta differentiate between Shiva and Vishnu?
Well, Advaita Vedanta does not differentiate. Something else must be differentiating, but not Advaita Vedanta, sorry. So it's all one. It's all manifestations of that one. Okay. So the problem with understanding Advaita Vedanta is its impersonality. There are no personalities, yet at the same time it contains all the personalities of the world. In Advaita Vedanta, Ishvara, a God, means the sum total of all the personalities which are in the world. The personality of the blade of grass, right up to the highest Brahma, our Brahma Stambha. All these are like strung together, like a pearl necklace. So the complete, you can say, personality of God is a sum total of all our personalities. That is the universal body of God. Like you have a body, and you have a body is made up of various cells. So similarly, the body of God is made out of various personalities of you, me, and everything around. And then it even transcends that, the reality, and it becomes impersonal. So that impersonal is the goal of Advaita Vedanta. The totality of all the personalities of the world is called Vishishtadvaita, qualified non-dualism. And dualism is I and God, Ishvara, are two separate things. What binds us together is the world. So, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. The world, God, and the individual souls form a triad. This is called dualism. And what about the Shiva and Vishnu and all? Yeah, you can have any number of gods. Any number of gods you can have. That opens the possibility of it. So don't stick to one. Have more. When I was young, I used to love Shiva so much. I used to go mad after Shiva. Then I started loving Vishnu. And then I started loving Advaita Vedanta. You think God is going to get angry? Eh? He's abandoned me for that guy. That's why Sri Ramakrishna in this age, when his father was in Gaya, where he had gone, Vishnu appeared, saying, I'm going to be born as your son. No. I'm too poor to take care of you. And his mother there in Kamalpukur, she had the vision of Shiva, whose effulgence enters into her, and she feels she is a child. There's a lot of things, and these kind of virgin births and all not possible and all. Yeah, it's all possible. Whole history of Avatar is full of virgin births only. So, there's no dichotomy. So please, everything is possible in this Advaita Vedanta. Yeah.
Last question from Kushal. I could not understand the conclusion of your talk. So, knowing that I am not the root of this samsara, is the axe to break the chains of this samsara, or is meditation the axe?
You are not the root of this samsara. The Lord is the root of this samsara, tree of samsara. But we are seeing the whole thing upside down. We are not seeing that Lord there within this tree of samsara correctly. Once you see it, everything is okay. You cannot be the root of your samsara. It can be your individual tree or individual branch on that tree. So, yes, how do you go about it? Well, yes, you meditate, you plunge down deep and deep, and you find not you, but thou. Like Sri Ramakrishna says, not I, but thou, thou, thou. The I has all become, the all is I and bliss. So this is what is. We'll learn to keep this I business a little away from. Of course, now you have iPhones and iPads and I. So I, everything is I. In India, there is in one of the regional languages called Marathi, I, we do I means mother. And in other regional languages, I means it's painful. Oh, it's painful. You hurt somebody and they'll say, I. So whenever you have this I, it's very painful. So you convert that I into the Divine Mother. I, Mother. So that is the way. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.